I've decided that my favorite thing about learning to draw is that when my kid says, "Hey, mom, can you draw this for me?" I can say, "Sure, kid, give me a sec." The other day, my son asked me if I would draw him an elephant. This took me about 10 minutes. Let me show you how I did it. You're going to need some markers, just a few colors, and a pen. I'm using just a cheap fountain pen here for this drawing. I start with the lightest marker that I have and I just block in the shape. I'm using a reference that I found online, and we're not making this perfect. You're barely going to see this after we put the pen down. Again, these are just really loose sketches. We're going to cover this up with the fountain pen, so it won't really matter if it's not perfect. In fact, having it a little off from where your fountain pen is actually makes some nice shadows in the end. So don't stress too much about how this looks, just get the general shape of the elephant down. As I'm drawing, I'll just put a little background music on for you and you can see how I finish the sketch, and then I will come back in and tell you anytime I'm doing something different, like when I add the different colors and shading and such. So once the shape is on, I go in with this warmer color and just hit a bunch of different areas where I want some highlights, and some of this ends up kind of being shadows too, but a lot of it ends up just making it pop after we put the cooler grays in after this. Then I come in with my fountain pen and I am going to make this extremely sketchy. I am not stressing about following the lines that I put down exactly. Again, they kind of make a nice shadow, the grayer lines underneath, so you don't have to follow it exactly. I think the sketchier you make this, the better it ends up looking, so really don't stress about it. Go over some lines again if you need to. My fountain pen is not waterproof, so you'll see it kind of spreading wherever I put the markers. I don't mind this. It starts blending in really nicely later on when I go over it again with the gray. It kind of creates this cool blue-gray color, but if that bothers you, you might want to consider using a micron or something that is a little bit more waterproof. After I'm done sketching, I go in again with my grays. So I pick one of the lighter grays and start creating some shadows, and this is what really starts bringing the picture all together. I look at my reference, I pick where I think shadows make the most sense and start adding that in for a little bit more depth. I'll go in with an even darker Tombow and a little bit and create even more shadow. You can do it just with one or two, or pick however you want. I wanted to keep this really simple, so I only ended up using 3 colors on the elephant and then a color for the background. For the background, I picked this dark green. You can choose whatever color you want, but I knew this darker color would really make the lighter elephant pop, so I went with that and just kind of scribbled it all over. Again, this whole thing is very kind of messy looking, but in the end, it ends up looking really nice. And finally, I go through and I thicken up some of my lines with my fountain pen and add a few little extra lines just to kind of have some motion, some hatching here. You don't have to do this. I just like the way it looked, so I went back and added this a little bit. I did notice that his nose was a little too skinny, so I went back and I thickened that up with a white gel pen, which you'll see in a second. I ended up doing this 3 different times, and each time it took less than 10 minutes, and my son loved it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this.